All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai by Hashem, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutation unto the hopeful elect, the 1/3 of Yasha Allah, upholding the law, statutes, and commandments to the best of their ability. Peace and salutation. This is the brother Bakwasha. And I want to go into some topics regarding the Charagma and how all of Esau's technology is forwarding this agenda towards the Charagma, whether it be universal basic income, whether it be the buying or selling of goods, whether it be the devaluation of the physical dollar, the gold standard no longer being upheld. All of those things lead to the Charagma. Okay, that is Esau, the so-called white man's end game. And so I ran across a Facebook post and I wanted to share it because it really goes into how these defense systems that Esau has created. I'll use that term defense systems because it's a part of their government and mind control. And these systems are set up to surveil people. The reason why they are set up to surveil people is because Esau, the so-called white man, has a agenda to sit in the seat of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai to portray himself as God. Ultimately, that is Esau, the so-called white man's pride, deceiving him because he wants to be like the Most High. And he will not be like the Most High. Because ultimately, when you have the ability to intrude the thoughts and the ideas in the minds of people, essentially then from that point you can manipulate them. And we have talked about on the highways and byways, that's essentially what the serpent, okay, which is a incarnation of Esau, the so-called white man, that old serpent, that old devil, right? What he did to Eve, okay, influenced her mind and corrupted it to where now he controls it. And that's what he's trying to do for the rest of the world. And that's what he's trying to do to the hopeful elect. Okay. So this will be a short lesson through the spirit. I just got a couple precepts. I'm going to play a video real quick and go into a couple of these technologies that have come about that Esau is using to intrude the body and try to override the system, the ultimate technology of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. Okay, so let's start here in Psalms, the 37th chapter and the 7th verse. It says, "Rest in the Lord, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself because of him who prospereth in his way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass." Okay, this Charagma is a wicked device. Okay, and this is the whole new world agenda of Esau, the so-called white man. No longer an analog world, but now a world that's built off of digital systems, which is another reason why he's given people access to social media, which is another reason why he's given people the access to these artificial intelligence systems as well. Okay, all of these are snares to understand the thought processes of the people to where he can entrap them through technology, okay, which is a wicked device. All right. And so when you grab this word here, wicked device, and I've already pulled it up to the side here, which is H4209. Okay. And the word here is mezimah. It says a plan, usually evil, a machination. And I want to get this word here, machination. Okay.
Machination.
It says a complex secret, and often crafty plan or plot designed to gain power, control, or an advantage. And the scriptures tell us that we're not ignorant of Satan's devices. Okay. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 2. Verse 11, least Satan. So going to show you who that old serpent is, who embodies the spirit of Satan, which is Esau, the so-called white man. Okay. Least Satan should get an advantage of us for we are not ignorant of his devices. Okay, so this machination is a complex, secret, crafty plot designed to gain power, control, or an advantage. The advantage that Esau, the so-called white man, is looking to have is control over Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua's people, and ultimately to try to overturn prophecy. Okay, but none of those things will happen. All right, so back in the definition, it says machination, sometimes good, wicked device, wicked invention, lewdness, mischievous device, thought wickedly. Okay, and so the scripture says, rest in the Lord, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai, and wait patiently for him. Fret not thyself because of him who prospereth in his way, because of the man who bringeth wicked devices to pass. Scripture says that they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. Okay, real quick. This is Micah 2:1. Woe to them that devise iniquity. Devising and device are synonymous. When you devise, you have a thought, you have a plan, you have an agenda. You begin with the end in mind. To devise, the next step is to have a device. Okay? Because the device holds the plan for the secret that is aimed at the opponent. Okay? It says, woe to them, destruction to them that devise iniquity, Esau, the so-called white man, and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. Okay? No one else has the power to bring wicked devices to pass more than Esau, the so-called white man. Okay? So just want to set the table here real quick, going into the machination, right? Which is the thoughts, the plan, right? Then also going into the inventions, okay, the device itself, and then how that device comes from Satan, okay, to get an advantage of people, but specifically the hopeful elect. So I want to go into this quick video. It really opened my eyes a little bit more because I've heard of neural dust and I've heard of different technologies. However, this video really showed me how much neural dust is so microscopic, but the power of this microscopic device is something that I was not aware of. So just want to share this with Akim, and Lord will, it'll be edifying.
Yo, check this out. Under 1 nanowatt. That's the entire power budget of a sensor node small enough to fit inside a hypodermic needle. The whole node, transducer, chip, electrodes, telemetry, is under 1/10 of a cubic millimeter. She and Andino Pavlovsky published it in Science Advances. No battery, no lead, no wire. A speck of piezoelectric crystal converts ultrasound from a skin patch into current. The patent trail is the real tell. Sound couples into tissue about 1,000 times better than radio does. At 1 megahertz, its wavelength is 1.5 millimeters. Grain-size crystal, real aperture. It reports back by echo. The crystal shifts how it reflects the incoming pulse, and the nerve signal rides home on the reflection. 4 groups have working modes. Michel Maharbiz's lineage at UC Berkeley, Columbia, Cornell, and Tianjin University. Nerve signals, oxygen, temperature. The patent record is the part that surprised me. The core ultrasonic backscatter claim granted in the US as 11,033,746, then extended into Japan in November 2024. Then a continuation covering closed-loop power control, May 2025. Nobody fences a curiosity. The full filing chain is on kpsphere.com. A rival physics is moving too. Magnetoelectric stimulators out of Rice University, with a granted claim on tunable waveforms in January 2026. The catch, sensing sits at readiness level 5, stimulation at 4. First narrow regulatory clearance is estimated between 2029 and 2032. If the injectable node holds up, bioelectronic medicine stops meaning surgery. No pocket, no can, no revision, just a needle in a clinic room. The foundational claims begin expiring around 2036. Build after 2028, and you're licensing, not designing. Of what we read this week, this was worth a deep dive. kpsphere.com. Want the whole report?
So this is the shaft of a hypodermic needle. And yeah, hopefully I could just silence this. And this item is actually resting within a hypodermic needle. So to show the granularity of how small it really is, it's smaller than the circumference or the opening of a needle. And there's numerous particles of this type of dust that have already been scattered all throughout everything. Okay. But I just wanted to go into how, because it's so small, it doesn't even need a quote unquote battery. It's using frequency or sound, and it's using light. And these are two highly esteemed quote unquote Ivy League universities. Okay. And I'm just going to read through how Esau is going to use the medical field as a Trojan horse to create the need for people to desire this technology. Because he's going to talk about dementia, which is a neurological disorder. He's going to talk about having people move again. See, all of these items are him sitting in the seat of, or him wanting to sit in the seat of God. Okay. This is Ezekiel chapter 28 and 2. Son of man, say to the prince of Tyrus, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, because thine heart is lifted up. Going back to this pride, okay, going back to creating a technology that is smaller than the opening of a hypodermic needle. Okay, see, that's deception. That's a plot. That's a device. That is him devising iniquity. Okay, on his bed. When the morning is light, they're practicing this. You don't come up with this idea in your sleep out of the blue. This is an idea that has been worked on for decades, centuries. Okay. Why? Because thine heart is lifted up and thou hast said, I am God. Okay. Esau, the so-called white man, does not have God in his heart, or Yahweh by Shemi Abishai in his heart, or in his thoughts. The scriptures talk about that. It says, I sit in the seat of God in the midst of the seas, yet thou art a man and not God, though thy set thine heart as the heart of God, the mind of Yahweh by Shemi Abishai. Okay, so that's why he's going to forward this agenda, as these things can cure and heal, when only Yahweh by Shemi Abishai can cure and heal. Okay. It says monitor and stimulate nerves, because essentially this technology will be operating. It will be a skeleton of some sorts. Okay. To fill in the blanks of deteriorating muscles, deteriorating pains, blood vessels, arteries. Okay, he's going to use this as a way of preventing heart attacks and strokes. But let's just read a little bit about this, okay? Because these are the things that the scriptures warn us about, okay? This is Revelation 13:16. And he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Who has the power to do that? To cause all. No one but Esau, the so-called white man, Babylon, aka America, the fatness of the earth and the gift of the sword. No one else has that capability. And that no man might buy or sell. Currently, the economic structure is centered around the U.S. petrodollar. What will it be in the future will be all digital. Whoever controls the digital, whoever controls the commerce of digital determines buying and selling. It is a mechanism, okay, of separating the rich from the poor. That's why it says rich and poor. It didn't say middle class, because the person that, or the entity that controls these devices will determine who is rich and who will be poor. Okay? And that no man might buy or sell save he that hath the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. And that's what this technology has been forwarding. Okay? So 2013, UC Berkeley researchers conceive neural dust using ultrasound to power and communicate with ultra small implants. DARPA elect, notice the word RX. Okay. I believe RX is, what is RX? Because I think PX is prescription. Yeah, prognosis. Okay. Yeah, RX. So let me see what this says. Medical research program. See, they're going to use medicine as the way to beguile the people. Okay. Scripture already lets us know that they are physicians of no value. Okay. It says elect RX most commonly refers to either a DARPA medical research program focused on neuromodulation. See, and this is where our apostles taught us to look up words, to not just take things as face value. Neuromodulation is a medical therapy that uses electrical, magnetic, or chemical technology to stimulate, inhibit, or regulate nervous system activity. Once again, you're now going to be a controlled mummy with all of this neuro dust and smart dust infiltrating your body. Let's read a little bit. The tiny electrodes or pumps place electricity or tiny doses of medication directly next to the specific nerves, the spinal cord, or areas of the brain. And once again, none of this has been, even though the system in itself is corrupt, but none of this has been voted upon. It's not going to be voted upon. Okay? Because if it were a vote, there would be no reason for that entity to cause all. It says, and he causeth all. Not that the people had a choice. It will be mandatory. Okay? So let's jump back down to Revelation 13:17. And that no man might buy or sell save he that hath the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Okay? So yeah, I think we wrapped up on the elect RX. Goal. Use closed loop meaning you don't need a outside electrical current to to power the device, non-invasive or minimally invasive peripheral nerve stimulation to treat diseases instead of traditional pharmaceuticals. So basically, microscopic agents within your body. And so the more and more this agenda is forwarded, the more and more people are going to demand a permanent charagma. Okay? Targets inflammation, chronic pain, post-traumatic stress disorder, inflammatory bowel disease by restoring healthy neural signaling. And this company right here, the US FDA, are going to allow it to pass. Okay? Because they're two arms of the same bird. Okay? I'm not talking about the Democrats and the Republicans, although that applies to the same scenario. Each entity of the GOV works in concert with each other. Now that in itself is a part of the two wings of one bird. Okay. So back to this quick slide. It says DARPA funds Berkeley team. So you follow the money, you know who's behind the agenda. So they did in animals, and then Cornell, same thing, basically making the device powered by light. And yeah, we'll move on from there. But like I said, these are the two entities that have been creating these devices. It says micro-scale devices, power harvesting, because the power now comes from the person. Wireless communication, ultrasound and light. Okay, neural recording and stimulation. So your brain gives off signals and wave patterns, your aura. Okay, all of those are generated naturally because Yahweh Ba'Yashim Yahushua, the first author of beauty, created it to be that way. Now Esau is looking to tap into that and now subject it. Okay, that's why we're not ignorant of his devices. Potential end users, medical clinic, military, defense, human performance. See, everything that Esau is doing is for him to try to sit in the seat of Yahweh Ba'Yashim Yahushua and play God. Okay, future consumer applications. Consumer, see, that goes into buying and selling. This is not buying or selling. This is not buying or selling. This is not buying or selling. This is future consumer applications. So, like I said, I just wanted to go into that real quick because as I was reading it and I heard the video, it just reminded me of the charagma. But what caught my attention was that the size of these particles and the capability of them currently are going to be advertised to people as a way to heal. And just like it was with the pandemic, okay, Esau has the mastery of deceit. He is going to put it in everyone's faces through media, through celebrities, through commercials, through your job, okay, to now infringe on people's will to live, because that's what the scripture says. It says, Revelation 13:17, and that no man might buy or sell save he that hath the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 636. Okay, so if you're not able to buy or sell, what ultimately is going to happen? You're going to die. Okay, and that's what these people are creating. Current status: active research in top universities and labs worldwide. All of this funding is coming from the defense to create an invisible weapon, or essentially a weapon so microscopic that it doesn't even leave a quote unquote mark. Wireless, batteryless, injectable neural interfaces are a legitimate and rapidly advancing field supported by DARPA, NIH, NSF, and leading research universities. The goal is to better understand, restore, monitor, and enhance the human nervous system. Only pride would make you want to tap into the nervous system of people, to hack it. This is Job 5:12. He disappointed the devices of the crafty so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. Because their goal is to put humanity in their ultimate control. All the thoughts, all the resources, essentially like an ant farm. And I'm going to show a quick picture of that. Look at the first person that showed up. And just like what Esau would do with any other thing that he gets his hands on, he would destroy it. And that's what he's seeking to do. Controlling people. That might be a good movie. The controlling people is Esau's ultimate agenda. Because when you limit someone's ability to buy or sell, you've now created a slave. That's why the scripture says the servant is borrower to the lender. Okay? And we'll wrap up on that. This is Proverbs 22:7. The rich ruleth over the poor. Now, if you cannot buy or sell, you're automatically poor, which gives the rich more power over the poor. And the borrower is servant to the lender. Servant. Let's grab that word here real quick. Let me see if I can pull that up. Ibad, servant. Okay? You're now a servant or a slave to whoever lended that resource for you to sustain yourself. And once again, Esau's going to have control over all of this stuff, man. So this is a warning, okay? For those that have ears to hear and eyes to see, do not take any of these devices, okay? Constantly purge yourself, okay? Whether that be through prayer, fasting, get you some activated charcoal, okay? I think I had made mention before, cilantro, because it pulls out those heavy toxins and it pulls out those heavy metals. And although this in itself, I'll have to look into the material it's made from, but I want to say that it has some type of metal alchemy to it, or some type of alloy, which means it can be pulled out by these said measures. Okay? Because this is a war, Akim. And you can best believe that the enemy is not going to play fair. So, Lord will, this was edifying for the elect. Once again, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai by Hashem, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who teach and rule well. Peace and salutation to the elect. Shalom.